Hey, Johnny, are you there?
I'm here, Mark.
Hey,
yeah.
buddy. How are you, Johnny? What's going on?
Mark, Dan, great to talk to you guys. Well, things are real good, thanks. I'm down in Phoenix for the waste management for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I'm headed back to Las Vegas because there's some event going on there this weekend.
Yeah. Don't you have a perfect life? Are you flipping kidding me right now? 3 days in Scottsdale at the waste management, followed by back to Vegas for the Super Bowl?
I paid my dues, Mark.
No joke.
In the bricks and mortar location in Las Vegas and could never go to an event because you can't go to an event because if something happens, they say, "Where's Johnny? Where do we go? We need approval. Machine broke down." I mean, so you have to be there. And I was there for every event. I never went to Kentucky Derby, never went to Super Bowl, March Madness, nothing. But now with DraftKings, it's part of my job to go to some of these places. So it's a little different view on everything, but loving it.
Johnny, just real quick before we focus on the Super Bowl, as a guy who plays a lot of fantasy golf, who do you like in the waste management here coming up this weekend?
Well, I bet Scotty Scheffler myself a couple of years ago at 25-1, and then he came back and won it again. He's always going to be around, but I'm the kind of guy, I'm always looking for players that are in that 20 to 50 range. You got to look at guys like maybe Burns or there's so many good players out there now that you can get a really good price on. So you have to kind of scour the board, find the guys that, hey, what's going on? Sorry, just some guys behind me here. Find some guys we can get some good value on because the whole field is good and anybody can jump up and win a tournament on any given week.
We get it. It's wild and chaotic at the Waste Management Open. That's the deal. Johnny Avello is with us. He is Las Vegas's top odds maker with DraftKings. And Johnny, I first of all, thank you for always responding to my annoying texts that I'm sending you all the time about what would this spread be, what would that spread be. We'd love to hear how this all comes together. So let's start with, why are the 49ers a 2-point favorite over the Chiefs?
Well, let's go back to maybe week 7 in the NFL when the Chiefs were not week 7, maybe week 12, and the Chiefs were around 500 or so, not playing bad football but not great football, and the 49ers were playing. This was after the 49ers went through that little bit of a lull. At that point, if this game would have taken place on that weekend or the following weekend, the 49ers would have been 7-point favorite over the Chiefs. So things change from week to week. Some teams' power rating is higher, sometimes it's lower, depending on how things are going for them at that particular time. Right now, the 49ers have kind of tailed off a little bit on the power rating. Doesn't mean that they're worst team they were. It's just that not playing as efficient as they were. And the Chiefs certainly have gotten better over the past 3 or 4 weeks. So the numbers come up. Now the 49ers are now, we opened this game 2.5. It quickly went down to 1 in the course of a day and a half or two. I thought it would come back up to 2 or 2.5, which it did come up to 2, and it's been pretty steady at that number. Now, I will tell you at that number, mostly Chief money. We are heavy on the Chiefs, and I don't expect that to stop. I think they will continue to bet the Chiefs, only for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's Mahomes as an underdog. It's Andy Reid as an underdog. Those guys, when they get in a big game, they get the job done, or at least they give you a nice showing. And so I think that's handicapping aside, I don't believe that's what's taking place here. It's just Chiefs value at points, and that's what the public's saying.
You mentioned that the money is heavy in on the Chiefs early. Is that mostly public money at this point? And does the sharp money come in later, or for the Super Bowl, does it come in at different times based on just the volume of action you guys are going to get?
That initial money that we took at 2.5, there was some sharp money in there that drove that number down to 1. But then there was some sharp money that drove us back the other way. So sharps have a equal opinion on the early betting. I don't know what's going to happen with the late betting. Are the 49ers going to get pushed to 3? I doubt it. I don't think this game hits 3, or it could get pushed back down to 1 again. So when you talk about sharp money, there was some sharp money on both sides of this game so far.
Johnny Avello with DraftKings is joining us here on Willard and Dibs. We're all over the Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube. Glad you're with us with our Super Bowl countdown coverage. Johnny, could you take our listeners through the process? So the game's end. The 49ers had to rally to win. The Chiefs surprised everybody in Baltimore. What is that process that leads you all, odds makers, to a specific number? What do you do?
Well, firstly, I have to tell you that the Super Bowl number is probably the easiest number that we put up for the entire year. And the reason is because we already know what that number is going to be, give or take, a half a point or so. We've been planning on that for the whole week. If this team wins and they play well, this is going to be the number. If this team wins and they don't play well, this is going to be the number. So we hung that number within a minute. We already knew what the number was going to be. So not that it wouldn't move, but that was our initial number that we put up was the 2.5. And the total 47.5, that was our total right from the beginning. So now, like I told you guys, if you went back 3 weeks ago, the number would have been different, a little bit different. Maybe 49ers would have been 3.5 at that point. But as we got closer to the games, things changed. Teams played better. Teams were their perceived value was a little bit lower, so that's why we opened the 2.5. So the process of opening up a Super Bowl number, it's not like a bunch of guys need to get around a table and come up with a number. We already knew what it was. The team was thinking about it. We all were on the same page, and that was the number that we released.
Do you guys talk to other shops and other outlets in terms of trying to find that consensus, or is it a case where each book or each operation, DraftKings and the rest, you guys all operate independently, knowing that everyone's going to fall in about the same range?
I'm not going to boast about it because I don't like to boast, but we are the market makers. We put up the first number in most cases on everything, football, college football, baseball every day, and so we don't have anybody else to look at. So we go up first, and then others see us go up, and then that's how the market gets made. So we see what others do. We can see what other shops have up, but we are the market maker.
That may be the greatest flex in the history of this program, Johnny. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we're going to get Johnny a shirt. We are the market maker. I love it.
Good.
Johnny Avello, the market maker, with us here on Willard and Dibs. Johnny, what about this? When you talked about a team playing well versus not playing well, the 49ers have had to struggle and come from behind in both of these games. How has that, just these last two games specifically, affected their power rating and the way that you guys number them?
Yeah, like I said, they're down a few points. I mean, I'm a little concerned about watching them play lately. They don't seem to have the same swagger that they had. But the players are there, and this is one game now. The last game against the Lions, they really should have lost that game. I think the coach of the Lions, after the Lions were up, the couple of scores and didn't kick the field goal, I thought that turned the whole game around. I'm sure you guys have beat that drum many times.
Yep.
But, momentum plays a big part in every sport. And if you give a team a little bit of fire when they have none, sometimes that turns the whole game around. So the 49ers were fortunate. But I will tell you that in sports, you go back and look at winners of any sport through the years in any sport, you had to overcome some adversity at some point. There was a game where you were down and shouldn't have won, and you won it. And so now it's down to one game. So I kind of throw that all out the window right now. 49ers they don't appear to be playing as well as they have in the past, but they've got the same core of players. They've got great offensive machine. Their defense is definitely more than adequate. So there's no excuses here. I just don't throw that not playing well into this atmosphere for this game.
Yeah, tough too to gauge it with the 2-week break that is unlike most weeks during the regular year. Johnny, what's the difference in terms of the volume of money you guys are getting now as opposed to 10, 20, or even 30 years ago in terms of just volume of money bet on this game?
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting question. When I didn't take a lot of $1 million bets when I was in Las Vegas, but I took a few, and I started to take quite a few more when I was at the Wynn Hotel, and that was kind of unprecedented in town. You didn't see many $1 million bets. But at DraftKings, it's kind of common to take them, especially for a game like this. Back I took a big bet for Mattress Mac on the Super Bowl, like $3.5 million back a few years ago. So that was a really big bet. And we take a lot of, not bets of that size all the time, but a lot of 7 figures, a lot of 6 figures. So the money certainly it flows when you have a company that's in 26 states.
Johnny, I want to ask this question. If the 49ers are favored to win, why is Patrick Mahomes favored to be the MVP?
Because if the 49ers win, the chances of Purdy being the MVP are certainly lower than Mahomes. There's too many guys on the 49ers that could win that MVP award. McCaffrey could rush for a couple of touchdowns and break a couple of big ones. Ayuk ties in more to the quarterback.
Yep.
But, Debo and McCaffrey, those guys can actually do it on their own on just swing passes, short passes. Whereas Mahomes is the center of the Chiefs team. I mean, the team goes as Mahomes goes.
How heavy are you expecting action on the more frivolous props, such as, Taylor Swift props and national anthem and coin flip and all the rest of the nonsense that we all love about this game?
The props are going to take a big piece of action, and you mentioned Taylor Swift, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Dan, because we took Taylor Swift songs, and for every song that we thought was popular, we put a prop up to that song. So if you go to our website and look, you'll see Taylor Swift songs, and there'll be something that'll be related to that song in a prop in the game. So we take. This is one thing about DraftKings. We'll take the tone of a message that's out there, whether it's Taylor Swift or a celebrity or something that's happening, and we'll try to build our sportsbook world around that. And that's what we've done with Taylor Swift. And these props are really popular. And I got to tell you, the action on Kelsey's gone up too since Taylor's been attending the games. And I'm very grateful for Taylor Swift going to the games because she has brought some new fans to the NFL. So thank you, Taylor.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody's bothered by it at all, to be honest with you, Johnny. It makes all the sense in the world, and there's nobody really being hurt by the whole thing. So, Johnny, if I hear you right on anything that you're saying, just from a professional perspective, you're rooting for the 49ers in this game.
At this point, that would be true.
Yeah.
Things can change. And, the rooting only goes so far from a fan's perspective and certainly a bookmaker's perspective. We just put up the game. We let the chips fall where they may. And if we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. But, of course, we'd like to come out on the positive side. But, hey, we're booking the game. We're putting it up there. People are betting it. Whatever happens, happens. At this point, we do need the 49ers, but come Sunday, we could need the Chiefs. It could switch that quickly.
Right, and I know that you're not stressed out about going out of business. I'm not saying that, but I wonder, Johnny, is there any data on when the money is heavy on one side like that from the public, like it is at this moment? Is that usually a win for Vegas or a loss for Vegas? Like, what are the analytics on that?
Well, it's 50-50 because you have to remember what the bookmaker has going for them is the juice.
Yep.
You put up 11 to win 10. So, we're not the prognosticators who can go out and tell you who's going to win the game, although people think that. I mean, if I was in a contest with you, Mark, and you and I had to pick 10 games, you'd probably, there's a good chance you'll beat me in picking those 10 games. I'm not the greatest of handicappers, but I'm a hell of an odds maker. And that's all we do is we put up odds so that people can bet both sides. And, and I'm good at that part of it, making numbers on stuff. But as far as picking winners, that's not part of my job duties.
My man, it is awesome to hear your voice, and I will live vicariously through you this week, going to the Waste Management and the Super Bowl. That is the parlay that I want.
Okay, well, I'm going to enjoy that parlay.
Yeah, enjoy it, man. Thank you so much for hopping on with us, Johnny.
Mark, Dan, good talking to you guys. Have a good night.
Yep. All right, Johnny, thank you.
Johnny Avello, Vegas' top odds maker with DraftKings.